following podcast is rated G for gammon. Please be aware it may contain some coarse language and is not suitable for children or gammon audiences. Say true God.
Seriously? Say true God.
God. Always say true God.
Seriously? Say true God.
God. We're back. Say true God. Them yarns.
Say true God.
Hello, welcome to Them Yarns, another episode with me, Carly and Aaron, all the way up on the sunny coast. I'm in Brisbane. Big hello wherever you are. You're joining us on this post-Invasion Day 2026. It's been a week, man. I feel like we need to do a welcome, Aaron. Ooh-sa.
I would touch my ears, but I got headphones on, so I don't know how to, how to rub your ears. Like, I can't do that button.
Yeah, and Aaron's got headphones on because he's lost his microphone cord. Black. This is a black podcast. I have to tell everybody that you're black.
Yes,
and done that.
Yes. I'm using non-podcast certified headphones today, but I've got a little mic attachment, so hopefully they work good enough for this one, and I'll find it or buy a new one before the next one.
Just
so
sit
you'll still be able to hear my deadly voice.
Just sit still, please, so you're not breaking up. That's all I'm going to ask, all right?
Oh, if I need to sit still, we're in danger. I can't do that.
Oh, God, ADHD. Look, it's been a week, brother. It has been a week. You organised this episode. I'm just going to preface straight up. I don't even think we have time for a Culture Killers, for a tea time, for any segment, because we have a lot to unpack right now as black people in this colony. So let's just go with January 26th in the state of racism right now. How about we kick off the podcast saying that? And you organised, though, the Sunny Coast Invasion Day. You're one of the organisers. How was your Invasion Day up there?
Yeah, I use the word organiser very loosely. I help the brother out who does most of it. I do lots of talking and just send a few messages to people like, hey, you want to help out here? But very proud to be a part of that small group that does that. And we had a really good third or fourth year, can't remember now, since COVID. Had a really good turnout. It was really good to see a great mix of mob and allies rock up. And what I'm really noticing as the numbers grow every year, so we increase by 50 to 100 every year as more people are feeling engaged. This year we had a small group of really new Australians. So the one lady come in and she's like, I've just moved here in the last year, and I saw the pictures of this one and I said I have to go to that, and I had a Sri Lankan lad come up and he goes, this is amazing, I'm new to the Sunshine Coast community and I really felt like I was connected and all this sort of stuff. So probably the best thing for me is just seeing random blackfullas that I don't really see any other time. Just rocking in and getting proud and getting loud and triggering some poor people on the beach as we walk through Cotton Tree. So it's lovely. It was really good. I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, nice. So it was bigger than last year and the couple of years before. Just grows and grows. Yep.
Yeah. So and we're not talking big numbers. Sunshine Coast isn't extremely political either way, but we've had 700 I'm going to say total throughout the day. So we don't know how many marched because some of the people are old, like my mum, who comes up and participates, but by sitting there and looking after all the stuff, as probably more danger for her than there is for us marching, because she's sitting there with a bunch of other old people as they wait for all the marchers to come in. And then we had a bunch of people coming in late as running on Maritime.
Done.
So probably 600 or 700. So we probably started around 2 or 3, and we've just been going up every year.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he had a really good time. All of those things you described is generally what you would expect from Invasion Day. I had a really strange experience this year. I attended by the way, in the background, that's Stevie Nicks with a toy, everyone. The go. I used to try and hide it, but you're going to hear crunching, okay? And I just need to tell you it's the dog. So let's just all deal with it, keep going, all right? Because it ain't going to stop. Look, for me, Invasion Day this year was, I knew it might be like, I don't know how it's going to be this year because of, the last few months with Bondi and just the state of the rise of the far right and all the other things that are happening politically. But I honestly thought about not going. I was like, I just don't know if I want to go this year. I don't know. And I ended up going because for me, by the way, Brisbane, 37 to 39 degrees it got to.
Yeah, it was hot.
Brother, it was so unbelievably hot. It was a heat wave on here. And but
Carly's out.
I was sweating my Arenaguses in between my cheeks out. And it was just really like, it was a lot. And because of that, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can stand the heat. Maybe I'll just stay home. Like, I really contemplated staying home. And I turned up because I'm like, I turn up because of my elders, right? And our people, our ancestors, what they went through. I'm only one person. If I can show up with the body and add to the numbers to show that we're still here,
Yep.
I will do that. So that's why I did it this year. I'm like, no, just go. I try to go a little bit later because I can't always stay for the whole of the speeches. I sometimes feel, and this is with all respect to Brisbane mob, like their speeches tend to go for so long, and especially on a day when it is boiling hot and you've got elders there and children and other people, like we really like someone needs to rethink that. Like I know the speeches are important, but so is common sense. And on days like that hot, so the speeches alone went for about 2.5 hours. We weren't marching.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, we weren't marching until the very middle of the hottest part of the day.
Yeah.
And it just was a lot. And so by the time we started walking, it felt like the floor, like the road, like it was like fire coming through my feet, bro. It was so uncomfortable. The sun was like, it was beaming. So the heat aside, I was like, okay, you just deal with it. It's not the first time we've protested in heat. We do this every year, and this year's a little bit hotter than it's fine. Get through it. The march started and I got across the bridge. So in Brisbane, we start in Queen's Park and then we go across, I can't remember that main bridge in the city, goes across to South Bank. So we all walk across there. And generally what happens is like there's a walkway across there and everyone stands there and like waves and cheers and the crowd kind of stops and we all, acknowledge each other at that point. So just before we got to that bridge, I was walking with my friends and I was just like, what's happening? What's happening right now? Because there were a lot of allies, and let me tell you, shout out to the allies for turning up. But the way you described your invasion day, which is the general gist of invasion days that I've always gone to, especially in Brisbane, has been you recognize somebody you're saying hello, hey, which way? It's a sense of like community, empowerment. You feel safe from society in that moment because you're in a group with mob and you all know if anything was to happen, everyone's got each other's backs. Now this year it was Nagus. It just felt very disjointed. It felt very...
when you say disjointed, like the march wasn't coordinated?
I don't know if it was a coordination thing, and I'm just attending as someone who's attended these marches for the last almost 15 years now. First coming here, and then covering my very first one when I was working for NITV, and I've seen them grow and grow and grow and be massive and so much like empowering. The strength in the past 15 years. I don't know what's happened in the last 2 years, whether it's a mix of organisation or if it's a mix of political climate. It's got to be a factor of probably lots of things. I don't know. I'm not an organiser. Again, I'm not criticising any organisers, but it felt, very disjointed walking because the general sense of how things would happen, and there's lots of mob that will walk on the outside and G people up and like, come on, you mob and this and start and do the chants and, you're bringing the crowd with you. Everyone's moving together. Now, I'm not the chant guy. Because this is not my... the thing about Brisbane, right, is the Brisbane Blacks, and it's about the community that's been made here from different mob coming from everywhere historically. The Brady family, the Mann family, there's a whole bunch of different families here that have come from other communities and made the community of the Brisbane Blacks alongside the traditional owners from this area. So I've been here for a long time now. Some have actually described me as that. And I go, no, I'm still in North Queensland, Murray, it's not like I just came here yesterday. I've been a part of this community now for a long time.
Yeah.
But I still won't be, I'm not going to get up there and talk on a mic. I'm not going to get up there and do the chants or do the thing. So that's this mob here. I leave it to the people, and I just join. There was hardly any people where I was standing doing that. The chants were very disconnected from the front to the middle to the back.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
But also the chants were not the chants that I felt very uncomfortable at some of the chants, including from the river to the sea, always was, always will be. That is not a chant that...
What?
Yep, that was a chant that was happening at one point in time. This is the things I've seen and witnessed that day walking in the march, okay? I don't know if everyone else witnessed it, if you're at the front or the back or wherever you were standing. There were many chants at many times. One of those was that, and that is a reference to the Palestinian people. We did say last podcast episode, no disrespect to Palestinians or their supporters. And, people that join the march, please lead, let us lead and don't stand in front of us, like walk with us, but not in front of us.
Yeah.
I felt like that wasn't happening. I felt like we were getting outnumbered as blackfullas with these other chants that are like getting introduced to our protest. This is our day of mourning.
Yeah. The Indigenous struggle is global, but Jan 26 is a specific Australian struggle, right? We're not going to start.
It would be super weird if I went over to any other place right now and was like, always will be Aboriginal land, and just started putting in my own chants on somebody else. Like it wouldn't happen. Blackfullas would never do that. So I don't know, just that was happening.
Weird.
Land rights was getting chanted. Brother, it was just very strange. The feeling was very strange. The crowd was very strange. So yeah, and I took a bit of a recording halfway through because my friend and I kept looking at each other and I was like, what's going on? And then there was some chants, but then there was nothing. There were times, Aaron, when there were nothing.
Quiet.
It was quiet.
Quiet while you're marching is wild.
Quiet while you're marching is unnerving, and that's how it felt. And it felt like the rest, and when in those moments you start to feel unsafe because you're not surrounded with mob. You're surrounded by people who are there, but at the end of the day, blackfullas will have blackfullas back if something pops off.
Yeah, that's right.
And I don't know you allies well enough like I know my community, and thank you for coming, but I don't know you enough to feel safe with you right now in the levels of if something pops off, which I've seen before at protests, is strength in numbers when it comes to mob on that day, and there just weren't enough people. And I was very concerned. I felt very uneasy, unnerved. I started getting a bit disappointed. So we get past that bit, right? And Aaron, we got to like the part when they, and Brisbane mod, they dance, they stop and they do the dance and stuff, which is real deadly. They do dancing along the way. That's always really powerful. So that was still happening, and that was like good to see. And then, while people are dancing, you're either like clapping or you're always will be Aboriginal land. Like you're doing something.
Yeah.
Brother, there's nothing happening. I'm yelling out.
Yeah.
There's no one yelling back.
What is happening?
And so I'm like, I've gone like I'm turning around, or if it was the chant going, when I tell you this was the reply, always was, always will be Aboriginal. And honest to God, I turned around.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, I'm sorry, and apologies to everyone who was around me. I may have growled people because I don't. And it was a pure reaction thing. It was a pure like disbelief of like what's going on here.
Yeah.
And I actually.
Wait. So you said you growl people. I need to hear the growl, please.
I'm shameful myself, but this is what happened. Okay, so I'm like, keep in mind, I'm in disbelief. I'm yelling out. No one's like,
no one's replying.
Hardly.
You're yelling out, and it's like very quiet, very minimal reaction.
And it's not just me. There's other people. No one's like, no one. It's not just a me thing. Let me preface that by saying that first. So I've gone, here, don't be shame. Here, don't be shame. You mob, like sing out, like I'm going, don't be shame. Like if you just want to walk with us, you're here today, like sing out. Don't be shame. Make noise. That's all. It was that tone. It was that like, come on now.
Well, folks, it's official. She's entered the army.
And I'm sorry, but someone had to say it, brah.
If there was ever any doubt, I've been trying to tell you, you're getting the army phase now,
I'm
and it's
sorry.
official. Like a public rebuke, a public chastisation of random people who you don't know. It makes you an official Arnie. So everybody, I don't know if you can hear me clapping, but I'm just welcoming her to the Uncle Arnie stage. I'm so glad that you've finally admitted you're part of us.
Oh my
Welcome to the club.
God. And I was like, I didn't take pleasure out of that, but I can tell you it worked because people started but you know what? I think it was they were looking for someone to give them the permission to go, I'm allowed to make noise as an ally or somebody. And there was no other mob doing, no one was telling them. So I was like, okay, I can't sit here. I'll tell people because they're probably looking for that guy. But it came out as like a growl. Sorry.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. But anyway, so we keep walking. Now these, I might just play my thoughts.
Play your thoughts, please.
Let's play the thoughts. This was recorded on my phone, so I don't have a microphone. Technically, in a protest, you should not be able to hear my voice. So let's just play this.
That's a good point.
And keep that in mind. All right. Mm-hmm. Let's go. Okay, walking in the Invasion Day March, Brisbane 2026, with my sister girl Sam.
Hello.
It is eerily quiet. I'm not going to lie. I feel very disheartened is the word. I feel very in a black protests.
Heartened for all of the allies that are here, but disheartened because
shout out to the allies.
Who are they allying here for?
But where's our mom? It's sad. There's a lot of allies here, a lot of young people. It is 37 to 39 degrees, but we're out here. It's a small price to pay for our ancestors, right? Yeah. It's feeling quiet, even though you can hear some chanting. It just has a different feeling.
There's no passion.
There's no passion. The chants are not what our chants are half the time. A lot of mob.
I would describe it as the eye of a cyclone.
Yeah, eye of a cyclone.
That calm, that eerie calm.
Like something's going to happen, but nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
But maybe. We're only halfway. Where's Tanya? Anyway, we've lost the sister girl.
Hello.
Hi. We're seeing one black person we know.
I've seen you before.
Hey, how you doing? I'm just doing a voice recording for the podcast about how different this protest feels. It feels very small. It feels very not
as many signs.
Not as engaging. Not as much strength. It's sad, actually. It's really shout out to the allies who turn up, but feels different. There's not a lot of mob here. There's not a lot of mob like I can see and know. So I don't know. We need to regroup by the looks of things. The momentum in the last few years has felt like it's gone. Since 2020. And now where it's at, it feels very, very disconnected. Let's keep walking. Either way, happy to be here, but it's not how it is. So yeah, that was that was just a bit of a voice recording of me while I was walking along in the Brisbane Invasion Day March, and just kind of I'm halfway through the march, as you can hear. I'm with a couple of friends. I literally at that point is when I saw people I knew halfway through.
That's crazy.
which is really weird, man. It has never been the case. So, I came away from it not feeling very empowered, feeling really
Which is
deflated and sad.
which is probably the point, right? Like that's the main feeling I get from that. And I
100.
think one of my reflections, like you said, it was really hot, and so where we march, we march to a swimming area. So like it's where families and stuff go for Australia. What I forgot to mention was there's a lot less Australian flags and stuff set up this year. So because we've been going back
Wow, at
every year,
yours. Yeah.
the place where we go didn't look the
Mm,
same. So even last year, like we get there around 7. There was already people drinking and playing cricket at like 7 o'clock in the morning. This
mm,
year we got there and we literally had that massive area to ourselves. There were people setting up in little places, but like this is the first year that we've been to that part of the park and there's just been us. And then at the end, talking about that power that you feel, I had Australia has a Black History tank top on, and this is lunchtime now, so ours doesn't go for as long as your mobs. We don't have as many speeches and stuff, so it's about lunchtime. All we've packed up, and I was like, I'm going to go for a swim because I've just been sweating my ring out and blah blah blah. And there's this big group of guys all with their Australian flag shirts and blah 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 blah. And I was like, I'm just going to walk straight past their tent because I was like, you know what, like I had real like FU energy. I was like,
mm.
bruh, like, I've just been marching with what felt like 1,000 people because we were all yelling and, we were amped up and we danced together and all that sort of stuff. So I've walked past them and I was like, g'day, fellas. And not one of them said hello to me. Like, they're all just like, they're trying to be staunch. And I'm
Mm.
like, bruh, like, you think you're acting staunch? I'm one black fella. There's 7 of you all wearing your little
Yeah.
gammon stuff. And not one of you is able to whatever. So I just launched them straight up, went for a swim. Usually when I go for a swim, obviously you dry off, hadn't had down enough. And so I just put the straight back on and walk straight past again with a smile on me. So like, I think it's sad for me to hear that that's not the feeling that you and others were getting from your march. So for me, like that's one of the reasons why we march. It's not to what's the word? Stir up stuff. It's for us. Like I'm
Mm.
marching for us. I'm marching for our old people.
Yeah.
That's what makes it feel so powerful for me. That's why I'm so passionate about that stuff. So yeah, it's very interesting, very really interesting reflection. And I didn't really hear any cheering until chanting until the end on that. But I'm deaf, so others might be able to hear it.
Yeah. No, I technically should not have been able to do a voice recording at a march.
No.
I've tried to do that before in media and it's very, very hard. I did it in my phone without a microphone and you can hear me. So
Perfectly clear too. Like it wasn't like
perfectly
you were like,
clear.
oh,
I
sorry
wasn't
about
yelling.
that.
You
Yeah.
like I
Mm.
was speaking at like this tone. I'm not raising my voice to try and speak over the crowd. That's how quiet it was. And yeah, that sense of like, so people think, blackfellas come together and stir up and be divisive and this and that. We come together to show we're still here and to empower each other, to feel empowered and celebrate our survival. Like that is what we take away from it. And it is it's for us a lot of the time.
Yep.
And to make a stand that, no, we're not going anywhere. Sorry.
Yep.
Now, there was some controversy at the Brisbane March. Now, up the road, 2 blocks away, was Pauline Hanson and a whole bunch of Robbie Katter, a whole bunch of influencers from, I guess, a very conservative part of social media. And they were all there with, they said thousands. There wasn't. There was a couple of hundred. There was still more at the protest, still more at the mob protest, which was great. And that's another reason why I turned up, because I saw that they were advertising their counter one. And I was like, well, if we don't turn up, they look like they're going to be the majority, and that's just not going to happen. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
So they were still the minority, even though they weren't as much mob at this one. And the numbers for this one, it was down. It was down. And there was a bit of controversy that happened. Now, I didn't even see it. I was at the speeches. It was at the front, but I couldn't see because I was underneath the tree trying to cast some shade. One of the local mob here burnt the Australian flag, and that unfortunately made the news. That little 5 seconds of him burning a flag, which is always the thing that the cameras are waiting for. They're waiting for that controversy of an Australia Day. I also saw the news report it as there was another incident that happened, very minor, to the fact that no one even knew that it was happening until I watched the news that night. The way it was framed was Invasion Day protesters clash with Australian people holding flags, like something like this. Mind you, it was two white Australian people with Australian flags that have come to the protest and started waving their flags in front of blackfullas, trying to instigate an incident. Yeah. And so mob have turned around and gone, go away, you just leave. Everyone's there protesting peacefully in the park, listening to speeches. But the way these things are framed, and unfortunately, the flag thing, the burning of the flag has been that's been the central point of this year's discussion. I don't know how you feel about it, brother.
I think my thoughts on burning the flag I'll probably save for the next conversation we're going to have, because it's been one of the comparisons that are brought up there. So I'm not a nationalist when it comes to the flags. I'm not in love with it, as a lot of people are that aren't blackfellas. So I think people can see that as a disrespectful thing to a nation's symbol. But I'll talk about it a little bit more in a little bit, I think.
Yeah, well, I actually, after that march, the last couple of days I've been reflecting of like, why weren't mob there? Why didn't they turn up? There is that little bit of like resentment and anger, but then it's like a bit of reflection of reaching out to people and people messaging me. And so I actually asked on our social media pages, why, if you didn't go to the Invasion Day march and you chose to not go, what were your reasons and why? So no judgment, like just genuinely curious as to, besides the heat, there was a lot of, it was the heat. And I'm like, got that. So I'm going to read a couple of replies that we got, including this one. So I won't say people's names, but this is from Marifala. He said, this year was tough, like always, not to say that everyone else doesn't feel the same weight on this particular day either. But coming off the back of last year, so my mental health was hard, feeling burnt out, and the feeling we all know that when January 26 comes around, it always brings up the discussion and the feelings. I've always felt for years, I've been pretty vocal and showed up for rallies on Survival Day, but this year I didn't realise how heavy the weight got. So I'm also preparing for some new stuff for a new job. And part of that is actually around looking at first contact with settlers, and the story was bringing a lot on for this person, even thinking about going to January 26. So there's a lot of division, ignorance, racism, misunderstanding and hatred in Queensland being back here. But yeah, it was just a lot. So this person has said they just needed to recharge to be their best self. And that's why they chose not to go. So that's that person's reason. So completely get that. I also had someone respond to us on our page. We've had a couple of different voice messages. So a sister girl that's down in Coffs Harbour, for her I wrote down a couple of key things that she said, that she is a mum, and that heaviness of being a mum and feeling helpless when you can't do anything for your kids with January 26 and there's no change, and like that burden of the emotion, like her emotional capacity was just, she couldn't do it. And also financial, to get to Brisbane or to get to somewhere in these major capital cities. That was another thing. A lot of mob were saying the cost of that is a lot. So the cost of living now is starting to come into play when it comes to our mob. The cost of parking, the cost of fuel, getting up to places from especially regional areas to the bigger marches, and the racism sometimes in these small areas and small country towns. People want to be at the bigger marches to feel safe, right? But they can't get there because they don't have the money. So that's one of the things. Another one said, actually a cousin of mine said she didn't go because she has her son, and she said it was just feeling too unpredictable with the counter protests, especially in Brisbane, with Pauline Hanson. She's like, I can't risk the safety. Don't know what's going to happen, which is completely fair. Understand that as well. Another sister girl said the same thing. It's just like, I don't want to be around the racists. And it's like, I get it, like from a safety perspective, because you just don't know. You don't know what people are capable of. And we saw this week over in WA, what I will say, in my own opinion, an act of domestic terrorism of somebody creating a bomb, a homemade bomb and threw it into a crowd of blackfullas at an Invasion Day march in Australia. Luckily, it did not detonate, thank God, but that happened in Australia literally a couple of days ago. And it is, and only as we're recording right now, the police have said it's a potential terrorist attack. If that would have happened to any other group,
if they had been a brown person attacking white people, if they had been, I did a post on my personal page, a really angry post. I was swearing and everything. Sorry, Mum. But just saying, like, how do we get to a place where, somebody will paint a hate symbol on a place of worship and domestic terrorism charges are talked about, and we have a man throwing a homemade bomb into a group of people who are there peacefully protesting. It's a political space. There's no other reason that it could be other than domestic terrorism. Like, there's absolutely nothing, and they can sue me if they want to sue me, but that's like, there's nothing in any, and Albo's come out today and said he's offered the counterterrorism unit now from the federal police, because people obviously been messaging him and saying, I think I tweeted him as well, like, what the F, Albo? Like, why are we living in 2026 where a white man can just throw a bomb at people and he gets intent to harm? Meanwhile, it's just such a crazy thing. And what makes it worse for me, and what I've been messaging some simpletons about, is them like, well, people are burning flags, that's going both ways. I'm like, you cannot compare burning a flag to domestic terrorism. Like, the potential for you saying, oh, racism goes ways, you're getting your feelings hurt seeing somebody see a flag get burnt on TV, and my family can potentially die. Like, that's the difference we're talking here. We're not talking, you're not going to get assaulted by anybody. Somebody threw rocks at one of the Australia Day protests. They threw rocks. Wow. Did anybody throw bombs? Like, is anybody... And I think it makes it worse for me, because we had the lad last week in a domestic violence incident and shot up like 3 or 4 Aboriginal people.
Yeah.
Where's
the outrage?
Yeah, so we're seeing this pylon of potential death in black communities, and we're just simply not getting the same treatment as other groups are. And there's so much what about meism coming from the non-Indigenous community, that I was saying to somebody today, like, I think they said to me, oh, brother, I'm just trying to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, I'm just throwing haymakers from now on. Like, I'm not being nice to people.
No.
If you want to say, oh, they're burning flags, or, your racism goes both ways, like, I'm just going to hit you with all the barrel, because it's gotten to a point now where, they love Pauline Hanson because she tells it like it is, but I'm not going to be nice to you if you think that that's how you need to hear it. So just a warning.
Where is our outrage for our community? Where's our Royal Commission? Where are the protections for our community that are having domestic terrorism events happening to them every couple of weeks and months? Now Perth was not the only one. We had also the 10 Embassy mob down in Melbourne being attacked by neo-Nazis. This has all been happening in this year, not to mention every single death in custody that happens to us. We are the most criminalized. We are the most hated. We're the most discriminated against. And everybody else is so quick to jump for every other group in the community. And with all due respect, yes, that should happen. Like we said last week, we do not condemn anti-Semitic behaviours or anything like that. But our community, where's the same outrage? Where is that for us? We've been dealing with this for 240-something years, man. We endure this every single day. And it just seems like it is so much heightened right now. So when you're burning a flag, sorry, we got bigger problems than that. We got bombs getting thrown at us. We got our kids getting locked up every other day. Our mob dying in custody. I don't want to hear about it, man. It's tough. Like, those poor people that passed away last week that got shot, that's a massacre. That is a shooting massacre. There was not the same outrage for that Aboriginal woman or her friend or the auntie as well that passed away. There was no outrage, not the same level. We need that. Right. We deserve that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I'll add is, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander young people are experiencing discrimination at an increasing rate, and we're seeing, especially in small communities, there's been a number of young people now on bikes and blah, 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 getting chased by grown white men, abused, 2 have been killed. I think last month there was a poor young fella getting chased on a motorbike by a 4-wheel drive, got run off the road. It was his motorbike, so we're not just talking about instances of, mass, whatever. We're talking about all these little incidences where, our chargems, our young people, our kids are being targeted by grown men because they're cowards, obviously, but also because there's such racism and hate in their heart. And the other thing on top of that is, we're seeing a rise of white men in particular pretending to be victims. Like they're trying so hard to be victims in the society because they see everybody else is getting what they see as favorable treatment. We're talking about the DEI and all this other stuff, and it's frustrating as an able-bodied man that you're seeing these other men who have the other advantage of not having to experience racism then try to paint themselves as these victims of immigration or victims of domestic violence system, when in reality, we have women dying every week. And the real shocker and all that is how little we do about those sort of issues.
And people say, oh, you need to stop being, blackfellas need to stop being so divisive. We're apparently the divisive ones. We're the ones that are causing the division. The 3% of us are the ones that are causing the division, really. But we are the most hated. That's what I know. I say that with every part of my core. Not just most hated as a race, but on those individual levels that you're talking about. In our workplaces, in our homes, in our communities, walking down the street, the discrimination and racism. And I say this as a white privileged person. Like even I feel unsafe because I'm not the person who will put up with something when I hear it. I will not be the person who shuts up when I see one of my darker brothers or sisters beside me getting discriminated against at a shop or down the street or walking my dogs and my neighbours pulling them up. This is the first year in my neighbourhood. I've lived here for 8 years, man. I came around the corner the other day and my neighbours feel so comfortable now in the racism that the way that this country is. They've flown their Australian flag on their balcony for the first time. And I've been in there. They're the same neighbours. They ain't new and neither am I. That's the difference. There is this license now, and I have to say this. I'm going to say this. The referendum and the way that was thrusted on our community, it was a failure for lots of reasons, and we are now seeing the hangover effect of that. And our community we've had the brunt of that since that's happened. And there has been, I honestly feel like we deserve an apology for that whole mess, right? And all the mob that were there in front of the cameras pushing that campaign, this and that, where are you now? Because for the last 2.5 years, the environment that we've all been in our workplaces and everywhere that I just described, it has never been the same. And now people have a license because of that referendum that they can be racist and that they don't have to care about blackfellas anymore. That is what we're dealing with, and that is a part of The Voice. That is the hangover from The Voice. That is it's playing a part here, and we need to acknowledge it. And I'm sorry. I know people had good intentions with that. I really know that, but that is the effect of this. So, man, it's next level, and you can't tell me that racism doesn't exist because you know what? I posted a reel on our podcast page of the Brisbane protest. I just did the usual post of what we do on Invasion Day. And it's found its way to the other side of the internet, Aaron Agus. Would you like me to read some of the comments section? Shall I? Yeah. Okay. So it kind of started off about a day or so after the Invasion Day march. I've not used any hashtags. So it's gone out, it's been shared, and it's started gaining some traction, especially on Facebook. And I actually didn't post it on Twitter. Twitter. I didn't post it on TikTok because I was like, I don't really feel like dealing with trolls. And TikTok is full of trolls and racism. So I just was like, I'll just post this on Instagram and Facebook, and that's fine. Now Facebook's picked it up. So here we go. You ready? Here's some of the comments. And now keep in mind, Australia's not racist and we're the divisive ones. Okay, as blackfellas. So these are all non-followers, have found the page, have found the video. They all look so delightful to be alive, don't they? Is one of the comments.
Oh my goodness.
Another one is, just when people do a red, black and yellow hearts, someone's responded with an Australian flag, like not an Australian flag, a British flag. Like, yeah. And then another comment from Ash said, who invaded and what army? Another one's posted a meme, colonizer. I think you meant winner. Can you want to be proud to be a colonizer? Can you want to be proud? The grievance hustle was another comment. Ungrateful CURs. And then another one, usual mob of Muppets, apparently. Another one, where's the black people? They're all celebrating Australia Day.
Wow.
This one is a good one. Defund the hate. Stop all government funding for Indigenous and Islam. Let them fund their own hate.
Oh, my goodness.
Because we have so much money. Another one, have sympathy to the stupid, moronic, low, intelligent condom failures. Pop.
Wow.
Judith, I'm really concerned about you, sis. Stop talking about condoms in your ripe old age of like 60 plus. That's gross.
Yeah,
Brother,
you haven't seen one for a while. Just shush.
You'd never used one in your life, obviously. Yuck. Another one says they posted, I don't know if this is, they're making AI pictures.
Yeah.
Some people are making AI pictures. It's like really sad. This is the levels that people are going to. They're going to AI and going, generate a hateful photo for me to post on a Facebook thread.
Yeah.
So this one is a group of like people like protesting, and it says National Thank You Day, where the Aboriginals thank the British for everything they provided them with.
Oh my goodness.
Another one. So in other words, F all turned up to your divisive, racist little march.
Yeah.
Another one. I've got to keep going, Aaron.
Okay.
I need to get to the best one yet. I haven't got to the best one.
Oh, you're the best one. Yeah, good.
Another one says, out of curiosity, where are the Aboriginals? No such thing as Invasion Day. Small group of F-wits. Burn the Bungs rag.
Oh, wow.
Burn the Bungs rag, guys, as in burn our flag, if you don't know what that means, okay?
Holy smokes.
And then this one is lovely. Trigger warning. Spot the abo. Mostly feral white scum, green voters. Most abos don't give a and would much rather get on the beers with the non-abo mates. And then ready, 2 more pieces of you don't deserve this country.
Yeah.
And then ban NAIDOC week. Oh, leave NAIDOC week out of this, all right? No one said nothing about NAIDOC. Okay, this is my favourite one. Are you ready? This is the last comment.
I'm ready.
All that Dave Thompson said was dumb skank.
Good job, Dave Thompson. You're quick.
Oh, my days. Dumb skank, bro. That's like, who calls someone a skank? It's just, Anyway, so you can't tell me that racism doesn't exist. We're not the most hated. Sorry, I did cut you off, but I was on a roll. I was on a roll with those.
Yeah,
what were you going to say?
I'm glad we finished up. 2 things. I think it's interesting how often black people are portrayed as the hateful, angry ones when you're responding to hate and anger. You know what I mean? So there doesn't seem to be a connection for people in their brains when, like, what are you reacting to? It's why, so one of my brother's mates messaged me and he was like, why are you spreading hate and anger? And I said to him, just FYI, non-racist people don't think I'm spreading hate and anger. If this triggers you, you need to think about why you're thinking me discussing racism, pointing that out is a racist thing. That's me spreading hate and anger, because it's not me. And I think that's the biggest issue with this victim culture that they're trying to portray themselves in, is it really is, there's no self-reflection on why is Carly getting angry about this space, not seeing the hundreds of messages we're getting. I got some random sent me a message, and I think he must have sent it to a whole heap of Aboriginal people, so I don't know how he found us all, but with him doing a Nazi salute and burning Aboriginal flag, like, I don't know who else got that, but I saw it trending on. Yeah, I saw it on Twitter or something where people were saying that some guy just mass messaged a whole heap of Aboriginal people this image of him burning an Aboriginal flag, and had the mask on because he's a coward, and had a mask on, wasn't man enough to do it with his face out in the open. But yeah, just randomly sent me a message to say that, and I was like, I don't know what you think that's going to do. I don't really care about you. And the other point that I think is important to note is while we're experiencing Queensland seems to be going through it at the moment. So when I looked at the numbers for Warrang and Naarm, Melbourne and Sydney and
Yeah.
Perth and stuff, like they're still getting great numbers to their marches. So
Yeah.
for us, it might be a Queensland experience because we have Pauline and because, we were one of the biggest states to vote no in that space. And so that's really encouraged these non-Indigenous people to be even more vocal and be even more passionate. We had the biggest March for Australia rally here in Brisbane. So for us, it's maybe a local effect that we're dealing with rather than a national effect because, the Perth rally had more people than Brisbane, which is unheard of, really. Like Brisbane used to be, 5,000-10,000 people. And I think this year they only had like 3,000 people, and they're still getting 20 plus down in the two major cities. So I think that's probably something to think about for us Murrays, us Queenslanders, like what does this look like for us? And, how do we make sure that we're staying safe and supporting each other in that time? Because it's really interesting, and it's probably going to be an interesting few months as we move forward. Especially if they do the domestic terrorism thing. There's some of the March for Australia rallies are talking about freeing Nazis. So they're saying free some simpleton, and he was one of the Nazis that got locked up for being a Nazi, for all these new hate speech laws and stuff. So you're really seeing this divide grow where people are feeling empowered to, vote and be far right, but there's not enough of them that's ever going to win in power, and that's going to turn into violence. So I had another random little white man message me and say, "Where do you live? I'm going to come teach you a lesson."
Wow.
I looked at his profile and I was like, firstly, I think he said, "Yeah, where are you going to teach you a lesson? Just like my people colonized your people."
Wow.
I said, firstly, you didn't do shit. You look like I could step on you with my foot and not even have to worry about you. But I'm happy to give you my address and come around, brother, because I guarantee you're not going to do nothing. And he's like, no more talk. It's time for action. I said,
stop it.
And I said, I looked at a picture of you and your son, my 9-year-old could beat both you up, shush, little boy, and then blocked him. Because I was like, I don't know who you think you are, why you think you can come at me like that. But that's how empowered these people are, is that, 5'2", 30-kilo men think they're going to message someone like me and be like, where are you going to come? I'm like, bruh, okay, let's go. So I think that's the thing to keep an eye on as we move forward is when they realize they're not going to win, then that's going to turn to anger, and you're going to see more of these things that are happening like in Perth and stuff. So that's why they do that sort of stuff to elicit terror and to stop us from being a community. So
and
really
I feel like it worked a bit. I'm going to be honest. I feel like it worked a little bit in Brisbane this year because of the numbers and people having a fear factor. This is what we have to see it as. It is an act of terrorism to intimidate our community. Enough for us to stay away, or enough for us to think, something might happen because these people are unhinged. We cannot let that happen. We can't be intimidated. We need to stand strong. Self-determination is the reason why we have survived for so long. Our people need to remember who they come from and where they come from, and don't let these unhinged, inflated senses of all sorts of things right now get in your head, get into your hearts, and disempower you from your community, because that's what we do. It's who we are. And we can't let that change who we are. It's tough. I'm not even going to lie. It's tough, especially if you have kids, and you don't want to bring them and things like that. I totally respect it, but just don't let it happen.
Can I tell one more yarn before we move on to the next thing? So my middle girl's bestie come along with this little. So she's a family friend. We've known them since she was born, and it was her first bit of activism. So she borrowed one of Hopi's shirts, and they were on the toilet at I think it's like 100 Jacks or something, because there's no toilets where we're starting the march from. And so Hope's in the toilet, and the new little sister girl's sitting out there, feeling proud in a deadly Aboriginal shirt. And this old white lady walks past her, and she's got like an Australian shirt on, and she like points to her chest and, like
to a little girl,
to a little girl, little 12-year-old in public. And so bless her heart, sister girl points back to the Aboriginal thing on her chest, and then gives this woman like the biggest finger. She's like, I just stuck my finger up in her face. And like this is a little Catholic schoolgirl, like she's from a well-off family, there's been no, this would have been her first confrontation with anybody.
That's so
And she's
funny.
literally just like pointed to her chest where the Aboriginal, I can't remember what it said, like, Aboriginal always was, always will be or something on a shirt. And then she said she just put her finger up in this
That's
white woman's
awesome.
face. And then it gets better.
Oh.
So we're walking back to the car, and I went with my mum, and Mel and the kids are walking back to the car, and she starts like doing thumbs down to this group of people, and Mel's like, "Hey, yeah, what's this little girl doing trying to get me in a fight now?" And then next minute she's like, "Boo, boo" to these people where they're on their balcony having drinks and blah blah. Blah. She's like, and Mel's like, "What's going on?" She's like, "That's the old lady from the Hungry Jack."
Oh.
And she's like full on
Spotted
like going
her.
on. Like, yeah. And I was like, oh my goodness. So it gives me hope that the next generation is coming through, in that sort of space.
Look, like I said in my thing, that was my observation of the
Yeah.
march. It's not everyone's experience that day.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking as someone who's been in protests since a long, long time now. I've been to a fair few. I know what they feel like. I know what they can do and what they're meant to do and say. And
Yeah.
it was just off the mark for me. But then it's good to see, young people, allies, people from multicultural backgrounds, white people, whoever, joining us.
Yes.
And walking with us. And I've taken a lot of my non-Indigenous friends to marches, their very first march. I even took a sister girl this time around. It was her very first march. She'd never gone to a march. So, that experience of that and being together, and that's the uniting that we do that people never know about,
That's exactly right.
in mainstream Australia. So, yeah, look, what's it going to take, though, for this political climate and the hate that's happening right now? What's it going to take to cool down? Because, we've had these near misses, I guess. Like there were people hurt and taken to hospital or, in Melbourne and other places, but nothing has happened on a bigger scale, like you said. So what's it going to take? Is it going to take that, though, for any government or anyone to actually take it seriously?
Sadly, I think it is. Like, sadly, I think we're sort of the canary in the coal mine, right? That we were just lucky that lad didn't read the instructions properly on how to make a bomb, because he had the gas, he had all the shrapnel, like he had bolts and stuff, nails and stuff in it. So it might not have killed anybody, but it very might have. An elder was speaking at the time. He threw it into the middle of the crowd, and it wasn't. There's one young lady who landed at the feet off.
Yeah.
So like, how is she feeling in herself? Like she's going along there to stand with the mob, and literally the difference between her being alive or severely maimed was some white wanker couldn't read instructions properly and messed up what is potentially a bomb. So, that's, I think we spoke about, what our predictions were for the year, and we said that there's going to be an Indigenous, well, for me, I said there's going to be a blackfella come through in this conservative space. And I still think that's true. Like, I still think that's the way we're going. Is there's always going to be a coconut who's like, this is how I get power, this is how I get recognition. And there's been two, one Strine, one's in Central Queensland, and another one's in WA, where they know that's their base, right? They know they can get recognition that way. So unfortunately, watch this space.
Well, can I read you a quote from somebody?
Mm-hmm. Go on.
That also happened this week. Now, you can't make this week up. We've had potential terrorism, but not potential, a terrorism. This week, we've had a terrorist attack on our people. That's happened. A failed one, but still an attack. What else we had? We've had the Invasion Day March. We've had Pauline Hanson. We've had there's so many things that have gone on. Now, while this has gone on all this week, we've had one of our people say this. Are you ready? On a national platform. You ready? He said, "Without the British colonialism, we wouldn't be and have what we have today." Try and guess who said that. Guess who?
Anthony Dillon.
No, but it is another Anthony.
Oh, not Mundine.
Anthony Mundine sat on a couch with Pauline Hanson this week. They were both guests on a radio. I think it was maybe Kiss FM or one of their radio stations.
My goodness.
And on the couch, him and Pauline were trying to both string sentences together to talk to each other. And she said, "I'm sick of these people." No, let me get my Pauline voice. Wait, sorry. I'm sick of these people. No, that's Kath and Kim. Damn it. Anyway, she said, I'm sick of these fake Aboriginals, these people claiming to be Aboriginal. You know, they come in and Anthony's going, yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, bro, I agree with you there. I'm not, you're not wrong there. So he's doing, I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, yeah, cool. And then he said, you know, yeah, no, I agree. Without the British colonialism, we wouldn't be and have what we have today. Anthony Mundine, everybody.
Bruh, how many head knocks has that lad had now? Like, is it because he's not relevant and he's trying to get back in the news again or something?
Like, thing. Like, why? And people, mainstream media will continue to go and offer these positions for him to come and talk on this and that because they know he makes a fool out of himself and a fool out of our community. Anthony, stop it.
Yeah,
brother, enough now. Like, you're not doing anyone any favors. And, you know, when it comes to the flag burning stuff, yes, we've got bigger problems, but that stuff there, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong, I get it. I'm not patriotic at all. I don't think, you know, we have our flag. Well, you know what? I don't actually have a flag. My colours are ochre. Our colours are our ochre. So yes, we have a red, black and yellow flag. We have a Torres Strait Islander flag. They're important to us. But truly what we wear and what we should be repping is our ochre. That is our paint. That is our identity. So that to me is my colours personally. But when you're going to go on that day and burn a flag in the political climate that we have right now, you know, I don't know, brother. I think it does a lot more damage than it does good. And I'm not criticising. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
You know, we can get our messages across in lots of ways, but in saying that, you know, I know it's been a very divisive thing in our community about mob not agreeing with the flag burning and then some mob going, yeah, whatever, deadly, whatever. It's very, you know, people have opinions on it. And the way I described it to a sister girl last night when she said, you know, it's wrong, it's this and that, I said, the thing with black politics, and especially in our community, there is room for Malcolm X's, your radicals, your disruptors, and then there is room for your Martin Luther Kings, your peacekeepers, your, you know, sense makers. There's room on that spectrum and we need to do those things together. Everyone has a place and everyone has a way. And all of those things together is what our black community is about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you may not always agree with it, but you may not always agree with the peacemaking side of things either. It takes all of it to make change.
Exactly. And I'm still on the fence about it. I'm not really. I can see why people would be angry enough to do it, and I can see why people would be like, you know, that's probably going to hurt us more than it's going to help us. I think for me, the reason why I probably don't, I have such a dislike for our flag, and I have always, you know, had that for a long time. So it's probably connecting in my brain, you know, why that's probably not a good thing to do, and why, you know, we could, like you said, there's probably better ways where we can get our message across.
Yeah. Is it going to do and the thing is I was there, I heard that fellow's speech. So what happened in his speech, unfortunately, that the rest of Australia will never see, because they've only ever seen him now with that 5%. And I have this person on my Facebook and brother's like, no one else saw the rest of my speech where I talked about peace and I talked about love and unity and all these things. And it's like, but that act that you did is what they want to perpetuate the stereotype, and unfortunately you gave them that bit. And it diminished the rest of your deadly speech of being peaceful, unified. Like, that's the thing about when you're doing things like that. And I'm not telling anybody what to do. This is my opinion and my observation. When we're doing things like that, that in that moment you have a reason and you're like, yep, I'm doing it. I'm staunch. I'm doing this. That's the bit that then trickles down, and no one will see your good speech. No one will ever hear that. It won't ever make any difference, because that thing there is now taken over, and that's what they want. That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
So,
and that's unfortunately one of the common things I've seen as I go through social media is, you know, non-Indigenous people saying, you know, oh, well, they burnt the flag, so they hate us. You know, this should be a crime, etc., etc., etc. And I'm happy if that's what you want to do. You want to take away your freedom of speech to do that. Just as long as, you know, when you take away that, it also takes away your freedom of speech, right? Like we always talk about both sides of politics are snowflakes, and you can't say anything anymore, and blah blah blah. And the more you remove from one group, you remove from both groups.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I said, it's going to be an interesting few weeks as we see what the federal government, if they step in for this case and overrule it, and see how that goes. But I think it is a really big test for me personally on what the WA government and what Albanese and the federal Labor government, what sort of recognition and what's the word I'm thinking of?
Response.
Recognition and response
Yeah.
to the very real fears of the black community, the blackfella community, and how, for me, for people of color as well, like this is something that we've all got to fight together, because they're not just fighting us.
No.
If they're bombing us, they're going to start bombing you. Like it's not a one thing fits all. They hate us, but then they also hate anybody else that's not white, and that's going to be the interesting thing as we move forward.
Yeah, and I would go as far as to say we are at a state of emergency when it comes to racial hate towards our community. Some action needs to be taken. I think we need to watch the next couple of weeks. I think we always feel it way more in January 26, and especially like you said in Queensland. The climate here and what it's like to live in Queensland at the moment is, yeah, we will unpack that more this year on the podcast. Yeah. I really hope that things settle down. I hope it doesn't take for somebody or a group of us to die in a ridiculously crazy way because of hate and racism for something to happen. People have been raising this now for years and years, and they're really quick to jump for other groups when something happens. So we expect the same. That's the call out.
Exactly right.
Yeah, brother. It's been a big week. So I think let's sign off. If you have any thoughts and feelings or you just want to share with us, thanks for everyone who did get back to us on the podcast socials this week with your thoughts on Invasion Day. Really appreciate it. We'll start opening up the channel a little bit more. And guess what else, though, that happened this week that was great to end on? Let's see if you can remember the last couple of days, what I told him I did on the weekend. He can't remember.
Oh, we got a website.
Yes, we have a website, everyone.
The medication is killing it right now.
The ADHD medication. I'm on another level at the moment, everyone. So I have started a new website for our page. It is www.themyarnsthepodcast.com.au if you want to check it out. We'll actually have a space too. I don't know if you've seen it, Aaron, but maybe some blogs coming up. Leave us some comments. Check it out. Go and have a look. But yeah, thanks for the yarns, brother. It's been a big one. If anyone's been triggered by this as well, then we'll put the the 1-3 yarn. Make sure you reach out. It's heavy.
Reach out. It's a heavy time of year, regardless. And I think the incidents around this just made it even heavier. So make sure you're talking to somebody. Don't hold it in. And you can always talk to us on the socials. We are on every single one of them now. So shoot us a message. And we'll get back to you for sure.
Yeah, unless you're a racist, then don't message me because I'm a dumb skank. It's not going to listen to you. Anyway, we're out. Take it easy, mob. We'll see you next week on Them Yarns.
Yo.
Stay true.